All right, welcome back to another episode of No Bull with Noble. This is episode 5, and today we have Josh Chisvin on the podcast. So
thanks for
welcome,
having me,
Joshua.
man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like to be number 5. It's a good number.
Yes, episode 5.
You made all your mistakes on the first 4, and now we're good
it.
to run.
We're past our 1 month mark, so now this is into like
Happy
month
anniversary.
2. Thank you. Yeah, we should throw a party. I think we should throw a party.
Rage.
This is a good space.
That's why I got the green juice still recovering. Right?
From last night. Yeah, dude, you're gonna need like 3 of those when we celebrate the 1 month anniversary of this podcast. So yeah, welcome.
Not sponsored.
No, hide the label.
I was gonna say,
so no one knows where this is from.
Canceled.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna chat today because you're a big guy in real estate, but I think like fairly low key. Like I feel like a lot of people know you, a lot of people don't know you, but I guess you can sort of tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, I like the low key intro because it's the debate we're constantly having on our team, or with Monica on our team, who's kind of our coordinator. That my Instagram, my social media is all private. Like I'm not a public account.
Is it a private account?
I'm like, I mean, it's speaking out of both sides of my mouth because like obviously we need the video content, social content, and everything, but I just can't deal with like the spam and garbage that we get through. And I find with where my business is and my network, where I started before social media was like a main resource of prospecting for realtors, I'm more like network based and my I guess my closer network and database, so I can kind of keep it a little bit tighter on social, filter who follows and who doesn't. But then on our team stuff, that's public. So on the general stuff, anybody has access to that. Yeah. I also, not to get in a whole side rant, but like I have my kid on my social, things like that. Everybody's getting their accounts copied, and I just
you want to keep some things private.
Yeah, but no, I've been a realtor for 13 years. I'm a partner at PSR Brokerage in Toronto and Muskoka, and then I guess that's the segue. I'm one of the only brokers that actually operates full-time in Toronto and Muskoka. We have 2 full teams, full business. It's not kind of seasonal, and that's probably where my niche is and my differentiating mark, and where, like you said, I appreciate you telling me that nobody knows me, but some people know me. Yeah. The nobody people might know me from Muskoka only. Like I think that's the number one thing I'm picking up now as I meet new people. They're like, oh, are you in Toronto for a day or two? And it's like, no, I live here. Yeah. But yeah.
I feel like it's a lot of driving, having to go back and forth, and there aren't. You're special because you're willing to do that drive, once a week.
So that was like the debate at dinner last night, the electric car debate, where it's just not even an option for me because you can't get enough kilometers out of them. Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of driving. I'm fortunate enough to have a property up north, so if it's like a terrible day, I'll stay over, or when we're up there for the summer season, it's a little bit less. But yeah, definitely doing the Muskoka, Toronto there and back in one day can get a little bit tedious. I think I'm a little bit more resilient to it, or used to it, because when I started in my career 13 years ago, and I didn't really have this like set niche, I was 21 years old. So, when you're young and starting, it's like whatever I can get into, I'm willing to do.
Yeah, you're driving for an hour, 45 minutes, like as long
exactly.
as you want, yeah.
And instead of being this neighborhood specialist when I started, and back in my day in 2008, 2009, it was really like neighborhood specialist. I worked and specialized in this 4-block radius. I had a lot of young clients that were coming back from school and university, and like some downtown, some Vaughan, all over the place. So I didn't go down the path of specializing in one specific like geographic location. And I've kind of, for my whole career, been all over the GTA. And I guess that's helped transition into Muskoka. We do a lot of investment stuff. But because I've been all over the GTA for 13 years now, I'm used to driving. And I'm used to doing like the high kilometers. But it's not the kilometers, it's the time, like you said, that bothers me. But now with the way Toronto is, it's like I can do Gravenhurst and back in the same time I can get across Queen Street.
Which is crazy.
Right? It's like it takes me... I live Midtown, our King Street office is on King Street, Bathurst and King. It takes me an hour to get there sometimes. Yeah. So it's like I'm north of Barrie by that point.
Yeah, there was a time a couple weeks ago, I guess it was a few months ago, where it took me half an hour to get from Front Street to Bremner, which is, for those who don't know, it's one stop, which should take you maybe 20 seconds on a normal day. and it took me half an hour. So
Yeah, and I mean, your business also, you're kind of all over. You got a pretty good geographical reach. So getting from Thornhill to Midtown Toronto, it's the same thing from going Thornhill to north of Barrie to Muskoka, right?
yeah, because it could take half an hour, it could take 45 minutes, but also could take 20 minutes depending on traffic. And I feel like that's what sucks about Toronto. So when you moved to Muskoka, why did you choose to do real estate there?
The honest answer, I kind of fell into it. So I didn't have a cottage growing up. I did not grow up on the lake or in Muskoka or anything like that. I actually, I guess, started my journey with my brother and sister-in-law. They bought a property. My wife and I spent a ton of time there. I've always liked being, by the water, on the lake, kind of nature from camp, what we were talking about before and everything. So it was always like on my radar. Eventually, I want to get a place on water. And when my brother and sister-in-law found their place, I was like, boom, I love this. And
Did you help them find
No, I didn't do the deal. I wasn't selling in Muskoka at the time. And I just kind of fell in love. It almost became like their caretaker. Like they would do the Friday to Sunday and I'd already be there on Thursday, like prepping, setting up, just because I like love the property. Fast forward a couple years, my wife and I got married. We went up to their cottage for a couple weeks in the summer and we're going by and there's like a for sale sign being hammered into a tree of this decrepit, dilapidated bungalow. It was disgusting, like animals in it and everything. And we got out, we looked around. My wife kind of gave me the like, what is this place? And we're buying it. And like maxed the line of credit, canceled the honeymoon. We did it all, bought it over the next few years, renovated, landscaped and whatever. And that kind of became our home up there. So when I had finally done the deal, which I actually did the transaction for my own property, back to social media, our whole thing, my following I don't have, I did a post out of like, just sold in Muskoka of the lake and the property. And I think I got 30 or 40 messages in inbox like, whoa, send me details. I want a cottage. I want this. I want that. And out of those 30 or 40 messages, I ended up selling 5 cottages.
Wow.
And then a year later, we opened PSR in Gravenhurst. And then a year later, the pandemic happened and it's just like, boom, taken off from there. But when I realized that I had a passion for waterfront property, but for actually cottage in Muskoka, and it was a little bit different for me. Like I got the butterflies, I enjoyed selling it, I enjoyed being up there. Not that I don't enjoy in the city, but like we said, traffic, everything can become very routine in the city. Like when you're going to every property is different, in a subdivision in the city or even in Midtown Toronto, a lot of the homes are the same.
Yeah.
Where there is no subdivision cottage, everything's different. So when I really fell in love, I was like, whoa, I'm going to start to gear a portion of my business to this. I connected with a couple of the top brokers up there, some at other brokers, like they were at other brokerages, and I just kind of shadowed them for a season. And I'm like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I want to offer the same value and level of service that we can offer to our clients in the city up here. So teach me what I need to know because yes, like a home is a home, but mechanical systems, water system, filtration, sewage, everything is different up there, So I really had to learn. And then, we grew the team out. My partner, Steve Haid, manages our office in Gravenhurst, and that's kind of been our path.
That's good, yeah, because I was going to say it's completely different, the types of houses and the things you have to do to go through. Yeah, because the sewage systems and the water systems are different up there. I guess can you explain that a little bit for people who don't know?
And just to forward on that, I think that was one of the biggest issues that we're still dealing with now and we saw through the pandemic was all of a sudden, like not just waterfront, but call it countryside properties, whatever, these homes outside of the city became so popular, but they are so different. And a lot of realtors that didn't have the experience still went through with the transactions. And that's when, after the deal's firm or after it closed or a year, 2 years later into the property, we're seeing a lot of issues because the actual homeowners don't understand how the property operates. And it's not like operating your house in Toronto. So things like what you'd have of your property in the city, your actual home functions the same. You flush the toilet flushes. You turn the tap on, the water goes. You turn your AC on and it goes. But it's kind of behind the scenes of what operates different. So 99% of properties up there are not on municipal services, so sewer or water. So you're either drawing water from a well or from a lake. So with that comes an entire different set of filtration systems, and it actually depends on what body of water you're on. And then there's maintenance with that. You got to test. You got to make sure your filtration's working because, you're a camp guy. You don't want to get beaver fever drinking that lake water.
Yeah,
but
you got to make sure it's clean.
Yeah, you can get in trouble really quick. Sewage, same thing. You're not connected to a sewer. So you have to monitor how much is being put into septic tanks, what you're mostly on, but also what is being put in there because, you have different filters and things like that. So there's just in terms of the mechanics of the property, a little bit of a different nuance to operating it. And then when the seasons change, a lot of these properties are not properly winterized.
Right.
So even if they have heat, they don't have proper insulation and things like that. So you got to go through making sure pipes don't freeze and water line and all of that. And then down to like the boring stuff. A lot of these waterfront properties don't actually own a portion of their land or their lot between the water and the home, their shore road allowance. So you do have opportunities to buy that from townships and municipalities, and we won't get on all of that, but you have to know because there's been, I can't even tell you how many transactions I've spoken to people up there and they're like, yeah, we bought the cottage and we didn't know we don't own this 30 feet, 40 feet of land, and our realtor didn't know. And now we're subject to, municipal bylaws, or we have to buy it or whatever it is. So,
and the public can use it sometimes too, right? I guess depending on what the situation is.
Yeah, you do have that. Like I'm on Lake Muskoka, and we do have parts in Gravenhurst where there are rights of way for properties that are on the main road that don't sit on the water. To, if they want, they can't drop a boat or anything, but they can walk down your property and go for a swim. So yeah, a lot of things you have to be aware of, right? And I don't think it's any different in the sense of buying investment real estate or even your personal property in the city. It's like buyer beware. Do your due diligence. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure if you have a representative, they know what they're doing, and you'll be okay.
And that's why you took that year to sort of shadow somebody else and figure it out, because from doing stuff in Toronto, yeah, like you mentioned, you don't have to worry about any of that. And now you switch to a completely different market where, number one, the house prices are different. And number two, you have all of these different issues that a lot of people don't think about. And then you get into it and, they say, whoa, like now we have all these other things that we have to worry about on top of it. And even with the septic tank, like knowing when to clean it.
100%.
Right?
100%. And like on that, it's the biggest thing where some clients are like, what do you mean I don't have to do this every year? And it's like, well, it's based on use, consumption, size of tank, all that. But I think where we ran into it was, one, there's having the knowledge base and having the representatives that have the knowledge base. And then what in our industry, I'm not going to bash realtors or any realtors, but in any sales position or commission-based position, there's an incentive to get the deal done. So when you backtrack the last couple of years outside of our last 7 or 8 months that we've been dealing with in the market and go to the pandemic, where it's like been the busiest time in cottage country that we had probably in the history of real estate, it was very common for you to have bidding wars and not to be able to do proper inspections and due diligence and all of this stuff. And you pair that with a representative that has now, trekked from the city, all the driving we're talking about, it's incentivized to get the deal done. And like, it's okay, it's a new build, it's a this, it's a that, like just push it through and get the deal done. Where something that our team, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we're kind of trained at our brokerage and on our team to see bigger picture, added value, long-term relationship. We didn't mind telling clients like, listen, we're not comfortable with you buying this, and you might miss out on this property by going into the bidding war with a condition or just not drafting an offer or paperwork at all. But in the end, you're actually winning because you could go into the bidding war. A lot of people at a bidding war max out their ability to purchase. And then once you close, you're going to realize you got $50, $100, $150, $200,000 worth of work or repairs to do, or even worse, you're going to not own all the real estate you think you own.
Right. Yeah. And you're there. It's good because, like you said, yeah, there are a lot of real estate agents that don't do that, but you're there to protect your client. Right. And that's, I think, the most important thing is you're going out there and you're putting your client first before putting yourself out there, because, yeah, anyone can just say, oh, here's a $5 million house. Like, I really want you to buy it. But you're taking that step back and saying, well, instead of going into a bidding war, we can put $5 million down, but we also want to make sure that you're protected because we don't want these other issues that might occur after.
100%, right? And outside of, again, not to keep referencing pandemic, but this like 2020 to 2022 mark, a cottage has not been the best investment vehicle, and people kind of got caught up in that. So you really need to know what you're doing and what you're buying, because even in a good market, you could end up upside down really quickly. But But back to it, I think it's like a fundamental issue in real estate, and I'm not going to get on that because you don't want me on your podcast for 3 hours. But
Well, you can be on for 3 hours.
you might leave. Yeah, I'll just talk to myself. But no, it's I mean, coming up and there's very little industry training, and when you have very little industry training through the licensing phase, you lose. I guess it's like building a business. You lose track of of controlling your brand, right? Maintaining your brand, your message. So when you have that as an industry-wide problem and not just an individual business problem, that's when we get into these issues of people pushing sales through, not understanding value, not understanding real estate as a fundamental concept for investment, and just focusing on the sale aspect.
Right.
When really, I hate that we're titled sales representatives, because it's very few and far between in my day-to-day that I feel like I'm selling somebody. Like I got a hard sell, right? I'm more a consultant. I'm an advisor, especially in cottage country. And I think from the time that you actually find the property, there's like a fundamental difference that you'll find in a lot of realtors versus I'm here for you versus I'm here for the transaction.
Right.
Right. And I think that's like a big issue. And when you get up north or you get into these specialized markets where knowledge is everything, it's. Yeah.
So how do you navigate between Toronto and Muskoka? Because, like I mentioned before, the prices are different. You have different things to worry about. Do you sort of find yourself gravitating towards one market over the other, or do you spend more time focusing on doing Muskoka properties rather than Toronto properties? Or
No, it's an awesome question and like a great segue to allow me to like explain our business. So cheesy, but I think you can go far by yourself. You go further as a group, right? So I'm lucky enough to have an incredible team that I work with in Toronto and Muskoka. The realtors are awesome. The support staff, the brokerage is awesome. So that really makes it easy for me to navigate two markets, because if I'm in Muskoka, I've got a lot of support in Toronto. If I'm in Toronto, I got a lot of support in Muskoka. And I think from a client standpoint, to keep going back to, say, value add, there's a lot of value for a client to have two realtors working together for them than having an individual, because I only have 24 hours in the day. I am going to spend time with my family. I am going to take a vacation. And those shouldn't be reasons why the buyer should miss out on an opportunity. So when we have, two realtors assigned to every client, like these are your two realtors, and then behind those two realtors are 7 or 8 other support staff and realtors, that really makes it easy to work in multiple markets.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
If I'm not available, Spencer's available. Spencer's not available, Bennett and Carly and Monica and Steve and like everybody, right? From understanding two markets, it's experience, right? It's like understanding Toronto and Muskoka at the same time is no different than just understanding Toronto. It's like experience, doing your research, not just going by what you see in your day-to-day of sales, but actually going deeper into numbers, analytics, buyer behavior, all that stuff. So it's not really anything different up there once I got past like that baseline knowledge that we talked about, but just operating a country property versus a city property. Yeah. But our brokerage and our team and myself, like I'm big on information. I love to learn. I love to read. Every year at holiday season, like something that I do for the team on top of like the year-end gift that I appreciate, there's always a book, and that book is usually specific to something that realtor either enjoys of the business, wants to focus on, wants to learn, wants to level up, and like it's a different book for everybody. But we're just big on education, and then we do a ton of workshops, seminars, training, and I think that's how you navigate any market properly, and then just double down, and you can do 2 markets or 3. Right.
So it's just having that support system behind you. So how did you
100%.
So you started off by yourself, and then you branched off into these 2 teams. You have your Toronto team, you have your Muskoka team. How do you manage both and split your time so that, like you said, you only have 24 hours in a day. You have a buyer who wants something. Let's say, you have someone in Muskoka, and yes, you have someone helping you, but they want to speak to you and you're in Toronto, and vice versa. I guess, how are you managing these other people on your team when you're not there? Is there a lot of Zoom calls that you go and speak to them? Can they call you anytime? Like,
for sure. I think managing over the last few years has become a little bit easier because we've all become accustomed to Google Call, Zoom, whatever, video call and conferencing, which we didn't do before, right? So I think just from that standpoint, it's become easier because even when we're all in Toronto, if we're just crazy busy that day and we can't all connect at the office, we can all hop on a call or a Zoom or whatever for 15, 20 minutes, get through what we need to do from whatever location, and then get it done. So that's definitely made things easier. But I don't really have like a real answer on how I've done it. I think everybody does it differently.
Everyone does it differently.
But for me, I've more scaled with a purpose rather than scale to scale. So we're not constantly looking, like PSR, our brokerage, as a partner at the brokerage, I'm constantly looking for new talent and great realtors to bring to PSR. But our team, Chisvin Group, we're not constantly looking for new partners on the team. We're only looking to expand when our business is growing. Like when we can't service our clients to the level that we want, and it's like, okay, we got to go get somebody else for support staff back end or another realtor. That's when we're kind of going to look to grow. And I think that's kind of been like the secret sauce for me on building a team and having a strong team that doesn't really have turnover. Like I'm very fortunate with the realtors around me that they don't leave. We don't have turnover because we got such a good thing going together. Not to get into like the personal stuff and put them on the spot, but I'm not looking for 50% of their commissions. Like I'm looking for them to support our team and our clients and value, right? Like I want everybody to make money. Let's make money together. So with our team set up from that standpoint, there's very little difference on having the benefit of being an individual realtor versus working with our team. And then you just get the support. Like I can tell you from starting my career as a solo agent, it can be a lonely business, especially when you're new and you just don't have that environment around you. And I think anybody realized that in the pandemic, like people that went from big corporate jobs and corporate culture to sitting at home alone and trying to still get the same tasks done, like it becomes lonely, right? Yeah. And that's what being self-employed or an entrepreneur, an individual is. So I think just with the team, like, you treat everybody well, you're client focused on value, you're not looking to get rich off other people, you're looking to, like, I hate when realtors say get rich, so sorry, but you're looking to grow and make money together. I think that's like the secret to how I've built a strong team in both markets. Yeah. And then just the difference between Muskoka and Toronto is in Muskoka, like I have a partner. Steve's the managing partner of the office. Like he might say on a podcast I am, but Steve is the managing partner of that office. And I think that's also what's cool because kind of like how I said, and not to rant, but we always provide 2 realtors for every client. All of our realtors within PSR have multiple partners to work with. So if I'm in Toronto and they want to workshop and do some, business dev stuff and work on prospecting, Steve's there to support them and vice versa. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's really good because everyone runs their team differently, right?
100%.
Like you could bring in 20 different realtors, 50, 100, 1,000, and everybody runs their business a little bit differently. So it's interesting to see how you sort of ground yourself down and are able to balance.
Yeah, and then real estate's seasonal, right? So in the city, like March to end of June is crazy for us, right? And then July, August is kind of when people get distracted with kids out of school or they're going on their own vacation and whatever. So you'll naturally see a little bit of a slowdown in July and August, but that's like prime cottage season.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like also an awesome opportunity to sell 12 months a year or like, be able to take advantage of hot season in one place while it's low season in the other place. So in the summer, I actually don't find that I have to run back and forth as much. It's like the shoulder season. So what we're just coming out of, the fall season, is super busy for cottages. Everybody's got that bug, had a great summer, wants it for next year, but needs to kind of get in to see what they're buying before snow hits. And then once that snow melts and the frost melts, that portion to summer to about June or end of school is also crazy busy because everyone wants to buy, clean up, and close so that they can enjoy their summer. So those 2 seasons are the most like back and forth. But other than that, managing hasn't been too difficult because, yeah, I'm here when it's busy and I'm there when it's busy.
Right. Yeah, it's actually, it's interesting because a lot of people don't have that mentality, right? They think, oh, it's slow season and we just got to deal with it. We just got to work through it. But it's really good that you found something that you enjoy within real estate where you can go and capitalize on those slower markets and have a boom in a different market compared to, just sitting here and saying, okay, well, now's the time where it's calm and everyone's going away. Let's just
For sure.
not worry
I'm
about
also
it.
like, I'm a degenerate. I'm a real estate junkie. Like, I truly love real estate, and not to be corny, like what we were making fun of before we started filming, but like all those realtors are like, I love helping people and I love architecture. Like, I love working in real estate because it's so multifaceted. So yeah, like I'm a realtor and we have a sales team, which is awesome and keeps things different every day. But then from that, I was able to learn about actual real estate and how real estate works and how to make money in real estate. So I don't just advise people. I'm working on my own projects and things like that. And I don't find it's like I'm being a realtor part-time because I got other things going, because I'm not at a 9 to 5 and then trying to sell on Saturday. Like everything else I have going is more or less related or connected to real estate. But I think that's kind of what's been cool is like, I don't like a downtime or a slow time. It gives me anxiety and makes me uncomfortable. And then I'm home too much. And then it gives my wife anxiety and makes her
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
because he's like, why are you home so
I don't
much?
like you that much. So yeah, it's, but no, like all joking aside. So I think that's kind of where I really picked up on it. And then anybody that knows me knows I am a better, happier, more pleasant person at the cottage than I am in the city. So it's like I truly found that passion. And so I don't mind going to other cottages and properties and doing all that.
So with regards to marketing, do you do a lot of marketing between the two? Or do you sort of, like you said, you have your private account, you have your main personal account, and you had your little old school way of doing it. Do you find it more difficult?
I like that. That was a nice shot. Old school, eh?
More difficult to find, like to do marketing in Muskoka than Toronto?
So I'll play on your terminology. Muskoka is a little bit more old school sometimes. It's a different demographic. You have a lot of property that trickles down generationally rather than actually goes for sale. So I think from the relationship building standpoint, it's a little bit more mom and pop, handshaking, kissing babies, building relationship type of thing. And not that Toronto is not that, but Toronto is just like go. Everybody's on their fucking phone all day. Everybody's doing everything. So you can hit on the social and that a little bit more. Like even me, the cottage is the only place I lose my phone for 4 or 5 hours, and it's awesome. So for marketing, like it's just different where we are. In Muskoka, we'll do a lot more event-based stuff. We'll be at festivals. We'll be at, community events, things like that. And we'll really concentrate it into like lead up to cottage season and then come out and then kind of keel off in the winter a little bit. And not that we stop marketing, but like we're just not hammering as much because people aren't as cottage focused. And so to go 8 months of just like hearing about cottages but not having access to it, it becomes repetitive and you hit the unsubscribe quick. So I think that's where it is. But like for me, a lot of my business drives from database. Like I'm a database junkie, a CRM junkie. Okay. I'm a relationship guy, and I truly believe if I don't care about the commission that's going to come out of working with you, I care about the value and building that relationship with you to provide you the service you're looking for or get you access that you're looking for, then I know I'm going to get all your commissions for life, right? Like it's kind of the back of my head. So it's just reverse. So like we do the traditional stuff like flyer marketing, all that. We have billboards, but we're really like, especially me, is CRM, database, referral based. And then my biggest way to get business or new business is put opportunities in front of people. Like social media has kind of become, I find, because I'm old school now, I can say that, you call that for me. Yeah. It's become a little bit of a crutch because everybody thinks it's like, oh, I put on Instagram that I'm a realtor. I take a picture of my white Mercedes in front of a fancy house in like my nice suit or whatever, and my phone's going to ring, right? And I think that like people are really getting sick and tired of that vibe and that image. And when I was coming up in real estate, Instagram didn't even exist. So that wasn't an opportunity. And Facebook was like tech status updates, right? So like I had to get business by going and finding good opportunities, whether they're investment or for end user homes, and put them in front of people and be like, hey, this is what you're looking for. Look what I found for you. Either, the cap rate is this or the location is this or blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's kind of fallen off, and not to take a shot at like newer realtors because I'm old school, but I think that's like what social media has created, a crutch. Yeah. So for me, I've just had ingrained in myself, like that's how I make a living, by working my network and their network and so on. And that's what we like teach at our brokerage and specifically on my team a lot.
So you're taking shots at me because I'm now
Absolutely,
that social media
you're doing a
star.
podcast.
Yeah,
and,
I'm
like,
doing
you're
a
that guy.
podcast, and so I get you with the old school, you get me with the new school, but I feel like there's a really good balance now, because I feel like a lot of the old school agents, for example,
We're trying to be like you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I'm here.
Like last week, we had Mario Armani on the podcast, and he spoke about the same thing. He said when he started 17, 18 years ago. Said the same thing. Yeah, there was no social media, and you started off. Yeah, you did like Facebook ads and stuff like that, and then you built it, and now he's sort of starting to do the social media stuff as well and posting. But there are a lot of these older agents that aren't doing that because they've been in the business for 30 years and they already have their client base, and they've never had to, right?
And it's the evolution of everything. Like, I remember paper flyers and marketing was like the big thing in newsletters and door to door when I was like in year 1, 2. And I would look at these realtors that, again, had no presence, like didn't spend $1 on marketing and had these crazy businesses because the generation before me was all word of mouth and referral, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to drop this will make no sense to you, but it's kind of a bomb if this makes it onto anybody in my network. So when I was like in the core of my business, probably year 5, 6, 7, whatever, is when the Jays happened to be really good. And anybody that knows me, I'm a big Jays fan, big baseball fan, have been my whole life.
Yeah. This was like 2014, 15, like
16,
the bat flip, Bautista.
So if you go back, because this is before like Instagram was video based and it was like really just square grid shots still. I used to fucking spam Facebook status updates like you wouldn't believe. And
like Twitter. It's basically
worse. It was like
Twitter.
Pilar got a hit. Travis is on first. Like fucking every game would have 150 updates.
That was
right?
me at like 12 years old.
But here's the thing. I became that guy. Then it became a joke. Like, oh, I don't have to be on TSN or The Score because I just have to watch Chisvin's social. But what people didn't realize was like, that was the first time that I became attuned to the algorithm. So now you guys just think you're watching all my Jays updates and making fun of me, but in between game time, all you're being spammed with is my real estate stuff. Yeah. And then it just became natural, like, oh, Chisvin's a realtor. So now it's like to the point, fast forward, I'm not single. Like, I have a wife, kid, family. I don't have time to just sit and spam. I don't even watch every Jay game. I'm still a fan, but it's like, you go a different way. But that's why I did that. So I think, just to wrap it, like what you're doing now, we can make fun of each other back and forth, old new school, but the podcast setup is good because you're providing information and value to people. You're not just posting like, hey, I'm a realtor. Look what I sold. Look how much commission I made off this. You can calculate 2.5%. Yeah. Like you're trying to provide real value, and it's not even about you. You're bringing in people that are in the industry that are competition to see like how they do things and stuff. And I think that's how you leverage social media properly, mixing old school and new school.
Yeah, and that's the point of this podcast, right? I'm doing it to bring people on who have value, who can talk about this, because I guarantee you 95% of my network don't know about cottages and don't know about Muskoka and in this situation.
They don't know about real estate.
And even and real estate
They don't know about real estate.
Right.
All people know about real estate is prices are up or prices are down or rates are up, because that's the headline.
Yeah.
But they don't actually understand fundamentals, and this is how you learn, right?
Yeah, and that's again that's why I have someone like you on here who's knowledgeable, knows about the business, has built his business, and can provide value for the people who are listening. Because I don't have 13 years of experience that I can go and talk to people about, but you do. So,
but if you're a sponge, you get it quickly, right? Yeah. And
that's why we're recording.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So you can go back to all the bullshit that I just spoke about. No,
exactly.
but I think that's like the proper way to go about it. And I think that there's a big divide, probably in every industry, but we'll real estate focus because that's what we do, on putting out a social media brand and presence for yourself to be like, look, this is about me, versus using your social media as just another tool as a value add to your client, whether that's exposing and marketing their property or giving them a platform to come in their own time and get educated on certain things. Yeah. Like, if you don't focus on social media is this like fake image I'm trying to portray out so my phone rings, but it's just another tool to add, to my business, that's when you're going to really see the impact and the value of it. And that's when you'll see whether you have 100 people watch your podcast or 1,000, when it's real. Like, if you have that 100, it'll probably be a lot better value for your business than 1,000 people that are just watching fluff, right?
Yeah, and it's finding that balance too, right? It's,
100%.
It's getting a little bit of both, but mixing it all together so that there is balance between the two. So you're not spammed with
No, you want to have a big audience, obviously, right? But you want to have a big audience that's engaged, not just to have random followers and people that are not actually present.
Yeah, and as much as I obviously everyone wants a million followers or whatever, but I think
me with the old school private account.
Yeah, well, you could open up your account and you'd probably get a couple thousand followers. But I think for me too, it's more so focusing on my own network, right? Focusing, like you said, focusing on the people who are on your CRM and who are in your network, in your database, because those are the people who are going to be more important to you.
100%.
Right? Although these people who might be listening, who might not know who I am or might not know who you are still important because they can get value from this conversation and eventually, reach out and be in my database and I can speak to them, or, same thing with you. But it's generating those people coming in and providing value for them from the start and learning who we are from this conversation.
It's exactly it. Like our team, we still, don't get me wrong, we still run Google ads and paid ads and have, cold leads that come in that we have to call that sometimes are like fake numbers, or like we still go through all of that and are bringing in 200, 300 leads like on a monthly basis to scroll through. But the bulk of our good business comes from our network, and that's just like the cherry on top in the addition to expand it out, right? The other thing which like we drive home at the brokerage a lot is ask for business. It's something that a mentor of me told me like very early on in my career is it's back to the don't expect your phone to ring, ask for somebody to call you type of thing. So when you go and do a deal or provide a service or even a valuation that no commission comes out of it for somebody in your network, don't be scared to ask them for a Google review. Ask them to introduce you. Like you're going to have a friend, family member, colleague, somebody that's going to want to buy, sell, invest. It would mean a lot to me. I'd love if you can connect them to me. Yeah. And the more and more you ask for it, the more and more transactions you're going to do, the more experience you're going to get, the bigger following, and then it just snowballs, right?
Yeah, and something like Darren said as well is, even if that person has a realtor and they already, you're my best friend, but I already have somebody, fine, you take that person. But, if you think I'm doing a good job, refer me to somebody else, 100%. Somebody in your network, right?
And you're probably, I've experienced it a ton already. You'll get that call always of, I see you're on social media, or I saw your listing, or I see what you're doing. Like, I really love the information you're giving out. I got to use my cousin. Like, I have to. It's family politics. But, and here's a list of 20 questions. Or if you come across a property that hits this criteria, like, please keep me in the loop type of thing.
Yeah.
So I think there's always value in putting yourself out there. Not that you want to go steal any clients or begin down that path from other realtors, but there's so many of us. People, like everybody knows a dozen realtors. Everybody could go stand on the corner and throw a stone and hit another dozen realtors. So it's about differentiating yourself. And I think that goes back to what I said at the beginning. It's value and service. Like show that you're here for the person rather than the commission. And yeah, you might not get the deal done with them today, but in the future, when they're not tied to that realtor anymore, they might be calling you, or they might, like you said, send you a friend, colleague, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've had, people ask me, like, I've been asked twice, but I'm going to ask you this. What do you think, because you have experience, is the hardest thing as a realtor right now? Most difficult thing.
I'm trying to come up with something without throwing realtors under the bus. No,
the
hardest thing as a realtor, I think, not specifically, not to have an ego myself, just a realtor in general in the business, is prospecting, right? It's actually bringing in business. And that's for so many reasons. One, it's just a super competitive industry. If you look at it, there's 66,000, my numbers are going to be wrong, but 66,000 realtors on Trev to 110,000 transactions in a good year. The numbers don't add up. So prospecting and getting clients, I think, is maybe the hardest thing in the business. If that makes sense, but
no, it does.
The hardest thing that I come across with the business is uneducated realtors. And this is why I said I don't want to throw them under the bus. Realtors that don't know fundamental real estate concepts beyond, I put this offer in DocuSign, you sign it, I send it to you, and you accept it and send it back, right? They don't understand creative deal financing and VTBs and all sorts of stuff. And I don't even blame the realtor. Most brokerages pride themselves on training, but don't do any training, and then take it further to how we all got licensed. We all read those books, wrote those tests, and came into the real world, and what the hell was that, right?
Right. Yeah, you you learn, but you don't learn.
Nothing. And I think even newer, the multiple choice generation, like they really had no assessment at all to get into this. It's like, here's a license, go deal with people's largest assets. So I think the hardest thing for me is like dealing with uneducated realtors and trying to get a transaction done where they just do not understand how to.
Yeah. So for those who don't understand, like, what is a VTB?
So vendor take back mortgage, right? So I think it's like, so a VTB is essentially, to put into like layman's terms, an opportunity where the seller will hold a portion of the value of the property like a mortgage at specific terms to make it easier for a buyer that either can't qualify for traditional financing or can't qualify to the dollar value that they need to get the property done. So example, you know, house is purchased for $1 million. The bank appraises it at 800,000. And they'll give you, you know, your 80% of your 800,000. There's going to be a gap on what you bought it for after your down payment. So maybe you can work out, especially in a market like this, that the seller does a VTB of like a second mortgage. They take back that portion. And there's so many, like, this is where it gets so creative, but you can do it traditional mortgage. You make your monthly payments, you know, interest only or principal, whatever. And then at the end of your 5 years or 3 year term on the VTB, you refi. We're working on a deal now where it's like a 3-year VTB where the 36 months where the payments get ballooned to the end, and stuff like that for our investor. So the standard principle is the seller, the vendor, is going to hold a portion of the value of the property as a mortgage or as a loan. And where that gets super creative is like in markets like right now for people that either have trouble qualifying and have to figure out ways to stay in their home or to get into their next home, or investors. Like we have some properties now where we're focused with investors to get the buyer to do a VTB, or the seller to do the VTB. We'll figure out the other small portion of financing. And then in that 3-4 year term of the VTB, we can add value to the property, sell it, keep the difference.
Right. Yeah. That's actually smart because a lot of people don't know that from an investor side, from a buyer side, or from a seller side. So
no, it's an incredible opportunity. And I feel like you see this stuff on TikTok and like Instagram and all the time, like, I got this house for free for zero cash. And everybody's like, what the, like, how the hell did that? This is how it happens. It's not actually for free, but it's creative ways of financing and getting people to carry your loans, value add, you know, either flipping or refinancing or whatever. And then you're very little to no capital in.
Yeah. And it's all legit. This isn't like
nothing. Yes. All kosher, all legit. Yeah. No, these are all legit, like, yeah. I mean, and to go to that legit, like the number one thing that we pair with any deal that has a VTB portion in it is solicitor approval, right? Like you get the lawyer in to review it all, make sure it is legit and it's done right and nobody's going to get caught in any way, but it's just being creative.
Yeah. Okay, so coming to the end, what's one piece of advice that you would give to a new realtor?
Wow. There's so many, right? So many. No, I think it's like this common theme of everything I've been talking here. Like be true, be genuine, be educated, and provide value. Like probably the first thing I say to every new realtor that joins PSR team is forget about the commission. Forget about it, right?
That's because how it should be. Yeah.
The second you're focused on the commission, your client knows you're focused on the commission, right? Forget about the commission, take care of the client. And I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. Once that client has full trust in you and knows you're working for their best interest and you own the relationship, every commission that ever comes out of that is going to flow your way. But when the client is always questionable about where your motives are and is it really for me, is it the commission, that's when you're going to get on your next transaction, you know, unfortunately, a situation where another realtor might poke their head in and steal your business because
they're in the best interest for the client and you're in the best interest of.
Exactly. So I think as a new realtor, it's like from the client facing place, be educated and provide value. And then from building your business, get a CRM and a database day one. That is the biggest fucking mistake I made. Like I'm here saying I'm a database network CRM junkie. And it took me 5 or 6 years to actually put a proper one together. And I almost threw up when I started tracking back and seeing all the relationships that had fallen off and people that I just like, because you're going to get a ton of people in your network that I just forgot about to follow up. And then you see they do a transaction there, they do something here, and it's because you haven't provided value to them. And then you start calculating the commissions that go with that, and you're like, holy shit, right?
It's a lot, yeah. But don't worry about the commissions.
No, but it's still how you make a living. It's not worry about it, but still be aware, right? But it's like because you haven't provided that value, you've lost those commissions, right?
Exactly.
And so I think that's like the two things: have value, get a CRM, and you're good to go.
Okay. Well, anyways, thanks, Josh. Really appreciate it. Where can people find you? I mean, on Instagram you're private, but
yeah, I mean, if I like you and I know you, I'll approve it. No, but ChisvinGroup.com, like I said, PSR Brokerage. We're on Instagram at Chisvin Group, at Joshua Chisvin, and yeah, that's where you'll find us.
All right. Well, thanks very much again,
Thanks,
and I guess we'll see everyone next week.
It's awesome. Thanks.